and Guidry goes, let's go look at something that took place 40 years ago. Who cares? Okay, that's political.
Welcome to this edition of the Lawyers Den. On behalf of IBM TV, International Broadcast Television, welcome to this, the Lawyers Den, which is a unique, designed, conversational piece, bringing, people that kind of know, that are in the know, that have some knowledge about some things that are going on. So I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. And I need, where's my friend out there? Nick.
I have arrived, Mr. Bill. I have arrived. So I bring my fan club with me wherever I go. The 12,000 people on LinkedIn, the 3,000 people on Facebook, and Lord knows how many other thousands of people that have been watching this interesting show. Especially the lawyers and the law students that apparently like this show for some reason. So, are we going to have real lawyers on this show?
I hope, Nick. I mean, who do you have lined up? Because you know,
well, we have hailing from Salt Lake City. We have another JDL attorney, graduate of Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and also the George Washington University. Let's bring in the Honorable Jeff Teichert from Salt Lake City. Jeff,
good to be back again.
Good, because we're going to need your intelligence to wrap around the appellate court here that overrules everything that Judge Judy pretends to figure out. Okay, so with that in mind, we also have another person who's actually smarter than Judge Judy, smart enough to stay away from television, but we got her back on. She hails from Lithuania and has a JD, just like Judge Judy has, but another degree, a teaching degree called an LLM. There's some people around here that have LM Envy, which is a teaching degree for law school. Let's bring in one of our favorites, Guidry Tonite. Guidry, welcome to the show. Okay, so we have two JDLL attorneys.
Okay, and, no, Nick. Can you leave it alone?
Oh, you're right. Three. I'm sorry. Sorry, we three out of four ain't bad, right, Bill?
Right.
Okay,
right,
so
right,
we're not going to tell the person who misses this one. So let's see if we can go for 4 in a row. Hailing from the University of Southern California and the Ohio State University and University of Alabama and NYU, where he did receive an LLM. And he teaches at Georgia College. Let's bring in our professor, Professor Adam Lamparero, a real professor, by the way, a real professor.
All right, right. Okay, Nick.
And now, finally, to add the flavor to the den, we need to have a street fighter. And this person went to the State University of New York in Albany, then went to New York to practice law, practices in the Big Banana, our street fighter. Let's bring in our street fighter, Fernando Leal.
Hey, everybody.
Fernando, welcome
nice to be
show.
back. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the Den Master, of course, has re-arrived, hailing in from State University of New York at Albany, practices in Washington, D.C., the Tower of Power, the Honorable Bill Trezevant, whose one-day winnings total $50,000.
Okay, you stop. All right, listen.
Okay, all right. Well, the real question is, I can't stop, but I can't start. The real question is, Bill, what are we talking about today? What's the issue before the court?
Okay, well, it's actually kind of serious, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. And I want to begin by saying I am a Democrat, and on this point, I'm kind of tired of the snowflakes out there about mealy mouth, less than assertive, because we need warriors. And this is what I'm going to say. We had a lieutenant Army officer who was accosted by a town sheriff who told him to ride the lightning, which means, in the vernacular, you're going to the electric chair. Now, that was wrong. He was pepper sprayed 3 times, told to get out of his car, given no other opportunity to even express on a traffic stop. And yet we now find ourselves, on the one hand, with that. And yet, on the other hand, We had a bunch of comicon fake patriots dressed as Qanon shamans who assaulted the Capitol. And so on the one hand, the world says they should be okay. They need a hug. But an active military officer is treated like a dog. I don't know how that works. I don't know what that means. And I don't know what my panel thinks about it. But I think it's wrong. So, Jeff, may I start with you? Because I don't know who's protecting this country and who deserves a hug, pepper spray. Is it a hug for the Capitol treasonous?
Well, I don't see it as a hug for any of the people who were involved in the Capitol riots or any of the rest of that. I also, I've only been able to read one article so far about this incident that you referred to with the Army officer, and it certainly looks bad. What I would emphasize at this stage is we don't know a lot about it yet. And I personally don't care whether the person who got pepper sprayed was black, Chinese, white, whatever race or religion or whatever they were. If this was done to that person without good cause, and if it was excessive force, that is my concern. I'm against police brutality regardless of who the victim is. Now, as a lawyer, if I was going to represent this person, of course, I prefer to have what we call as attorneys, a very sympathetic plaintiff. And this person would appear to be a very sympathetic plaintiff, upstanding citizen, military officer, and all of that. If it was someone who had a rap sheet a mile long, people may look a little less favorably on the case that person might present. As I understand it, he is suing the police department, and it'll be interesting to see what the facts are.
All right. No, fine. Adam, listen, there was a picture out there of the gentleman graduating from Virginia State University in full military uniform. 1, 2. There was no doubt about his character, but you had this guy down in a township telling him he's got to ride the white lightning, meaning the execution chair. Adam, what do you have to say?
First, I agree with Jeff that let's get all the facts before we make any judgments. Unlike your racially divisive invective that you used to start this show, I think we need to get the facts first. Second, watching the video and reading the preliminary reports suggests that this individual broke the law, and then, despite repeatedly being told to get out of the car, he did not comply.
No, Adam.
When you resist arrest,
Adam, he did not.
You get yourself into trouble.
Adam, he was released without charges. He did not break the law. All he did was, they said felony traffic pullover. There was nothing. They couldn't see his license plate, which was clearly in the back of his car. He committed no crime. Don't say this guy apparently, violated the law. He violated no law, Adam.
Stop it, Bill. Stop it, Bill. The police officers had reasonable suspicion to believe that he had committed a traffic violation. And, like I was saying, you should never resist arrest. This man was asked 7, 8 times to get out of the car, and he refused. Police officers, what should they do? Who knows? He may have a gun in the car. He may be preparing to attack the officers. They don't know. When you resist, you create a problem. And number 3, I don't care if he was a military officer or if he was a homeless guy from California. Everybody deserves equal treatment under the law. And if he committed a traffic violation and refused to comply with the officer's repeated requests, then this is ultimately what happens. That's the truth. Those are the facts. And I think you should stop playing on the audience's emotions and misleading them, because that's why this country is so divided right now.
Adam, that's rich coming from you. Fernando, please, your turn. What are your thoughts, please?
Yeah, traffic stop isn't the time to plead your case. Save that for court. In terms of the individuals that stormed the the Capitol, they deserved rubber bullets, mace, and canisters of and stun grenades to hold them back.
All right, well then, fine, Fernando. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
They deserve that, which is less than a hug. But this guy was humiliated when he did nothing wrong. They assaulted our nation's capital, and yet they get nothing except a hug. And this guy is told that he's a criminal. Fernando, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are based on the latest articles from NPR and Politico. They aren't getting hugs. The issue is that you're going to have to separate who was actually there that conspired and wanted to make an attempt to overthrow and change the election by violent means versus those who were there and were just followers and ended up inside. They're just going to get hit with trespassing.
Okay, fine.
Hold on. As for the lieutenant, the issue with him is everything was fine up until he starts resisting and pleading and not following. And at that point, bad things are going to happen. And that's what happens in all of these cases. When you resist,
Adam, I'm coming
bad
to you.
things.
No, fine, Fernando. Adam, I'm coming to you. Don't worry about that. But Deidre, please, your thoughts, because you're my reasonableness. And then Nick, I'm coming to you. But seriously, Deidre, please.
Well, first of all, I don't think that Bill's report was emotionally charged or divisive. I think it was rightfully angry and passionate to what had happened and how it happened. I agree that there is an issue when there is a not following instructions by the police officers, but police officers also have a duty to communicate their orders or their requirements in a manner that is not aggressive and that does not create someone of fear or terror. And that's exactly what happened. In that specific case, Lieutenant said, I am afraid to get out because the officers were screaming, yelling. He also had both of his hands outside of the vehicle, and he was trying to communicate with the officers to de-escalate the situation. So again, I think that there is part on both parties that was supposed to be done in a better way. And also we have to take into account the history of the police conduct when there are a lot of bad apples and a lot of instances that are not well documented. So it would be it makes sense that someone could be afraid to get out of the vehicle when the police officers are not controlling themselves.
Okay. Now, Nick, just give me this so I can set you up. Seriously, we have an actual patriot, an active military officer who was dogged by some county town sheriff and with a bunch of Who Shot John cartoon patriots on Capitol Hill. Aren't they all out of control, Nick? Because can't we support our own? It used to be a time, Nick, when we knew that somebody in uniform we could trust. And now we got all these other guys making up their own uniforms and now pointing guns and doing stuff. And it's all about black people. Nick, seriously, aren't you mad?
I did see the incident you're describing, Bill. I don't know what it has to do with the Capitol incident. To me, they're totally different things, but it was complete. And I totally disagree with Adam and Jeff's characterization of what really happened, because this happens way too often. This is actual police malpractice. Come on. And they escalated the situation. Come on. The first thing they should have done, and this is how they normally do it. They usually go up to you, because I've been pulled over for tags. That's normally what I get pulled over for.
No, Nick. You get pulled over. No, Nick. You get pulled over. They come up to you while you're white.
But I'm treated differently. You don't understand.
Right.
Okay. I'm treated as a gentleman. They go, oh, I say, what am I being pulled over for? Your tags are expired. Now, by the way, these tags are tiny little things, Bill, that I can't even read. I said, seriously, yes, it's expired. It should be 22, not 23 or something like that. Things that no normal person could see. And I'm always impressed that they can see that well, my tiny little tag that was expired. But this is the normal procedure. They say, here's your citation. Please get your tags taken care of. Thank you. Goodbye. That's the normal way they do it. But that's not what happened in this case for people that reviewed it. pull over, get out of your car. What's going to happen? You know, we got guns on you. And then he did the right thing. Okay, he did the right thing. He remained calm. He goes, so what's the charge? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to send you electric chair. Come on, Bill. Come on, Jeff. Come on, Adam. That is police malpractice. How'd that idiot ever get on the force to begin with is just appalling. Anybody who isn't appalled by that incident doesn't understand we are not a police force state. Okay, and see, they're acting. You might as well have the Nazis take over the police department. I mean, this is ridiculous. So yes, I did see it, and the thing is, of course, they did get fired and gone. But the real problem isn't that incident. Okay, the real problem, Bill and panel, this happens all the time. This is just the one that we happen to see. This goes on all the time in the United States of America for our international audience. What I call the over-policing of Americans. It was totally unnecessary.
Okay,
it should never begun. And anyway, I'm out.
Then look.
You know my position, Counselor.
Jeff, Adam, and then Fernando, and then I'm coming to you, Guidry. But Jeff, you just heard from your best friend Nick. Please, Jeff.
I don't disagree with Nick as much as he might think. My position is simply that I want to know more of the facts. However, when I view this from 30,000 feet, I can say this about policing. I think a great criminal defense attorney, and I'm not one, but I think a great criminal defense attorney has to be somewhat suspicious of authority. And a prophet that I follow, Joseph Smith, said, we have learned by sad experience that it is the nature and disposition of almost all men that when they get a little authority, as they suppose, they will immediately begin to exercise unrighteous dominion. And I believe that that goes with a government authority oftentimes. Okay, in 1829, that was when the first professional police force in England happened. It was in London, and it was under Sir Robert Peel. And you know how many people were in London at that time? It was approximately 3 million. It was the largest city in the world. The first professional police force in the United States was in 1845. That was in New York City. And what did we do about policing before we had professional cops? Well, if you look back to our Second Amendment, it was a well-regulated militia, and it was a militia of the people. And the idea was that police and military services were safer in the hands of the people as a whole than a specific professional military class. I believe the same is true.
No, Jeff, it was more. No, Jeff, it was more than that. Before we had the professional policing, we had those people that went to go grab the runaway slaves. I mean, they were sanctioned, and it was by law. So it wasn't just the policing, like everyday garden variety, say in New York City. It was an entire structure.
Well, what I'm saying is that
runaway slaves. That's how the entire policing framework was put together. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Well, what I'm saying is that professional police forces were viewed kind of the same way as standing armies by the founders. And in England, they didn't want a lot of French inspectors running around.
I know, Jeff. But in America, they were used to capture slaves.
Well, I don't suggest that there weren't problems and abuses. What I am suggesting is that a professional police force exists first to serve itself in a way, and people get drunk with their own power. And I don't like the idea really of defending cops by saying, well, if somebody wasn't following their orders and if they were resisting arrest, no matter what they did, then that's on the person that got abused. I don't agree with that. I think we want our public servants to be humble with power, not a little Napoleon running around looking for somebody to beat on.
All right. Excellent, Jeff. Thank you. Fernando, my little Napoleon. What do you have to say?
What I have to say is that in terms of the Army lieutenant, yes, I do agree with Nick in that the approach to the vehicle probably wasn't correct. I'm not a use of force expert, so I can't talk to that, nor am I a cop. But a lot of these incidents end up the way they do because the person in the car starts to try to litigate their case. They start resisting and they start arguing back. In this case, the lieutenant didn't argue back. He kept a quiet tone. But in all honesty, hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
No, he was pepper sprayed. He was assaulted. He was pepper sprayed. I mean, he did everything. He was pepper sprayed. Fernando.
Before he was pepper sprayed, okay, he put his hands out and he's sitting there asking, why are you pulling me over? Why are you doing this? What's going on? You know what? You're getting pulled over. Turn off your car, turn on the dome light, shut the hell up, stare straight ahead, and let the cops say whatever the hell they want to say, give you whatever ticket they want to give you. And chances are you're going to drive away most of the time. So they asked him to put his hands out the window. He put them out. Now he starts talking. You know what? Put your hands on. Shut the hell up. Don't engage them.
That is so wrong, Fernando.
That is not so wrong.
No,
Don't engage them. Let them walk up. Let them walk up to your car. And let them give you whatever ticket they want to give you.
No, Fernando, you just said, put your hands out, shut the hell up, and do whatever they say. Adam,
yes.
No, Adam, seriously, you are.
Don't resist.
You're a criminal defense guy. Now, listen, if you did nothing wrong, you say, hey, why are you pulling me over? Which is our right, and we have a right to be told. You put your hands out, it's clearly visible. Everything is done. You're calm. You get pepper sprayed, and then you're told, yeah, you're going to ride the white lightning. Adam, what do you have to say about that? Because Fernando thinks that's okay. Adam?
You began the show by saying that you were a Democrat and you trashed the police before any factual investigation has been undertaken. And Guidry has the nerve to say that that's not divisive. I think both of you should be in Minnesota right now rioting. Maybe that's how they do things in Lithuania. But here we have something called due process. Now, I'd like to get to some of the facts here, guys, okay? In 90 to 95% of cases, lethal force is used because the suspect is armed and resisting arrest. Number one. Number two, black officers use lethal force against black suspects at rates equal to or exceeding white officers. Number three, studies have shown there is no racial bias when it comes to lethal shootings. Now, Nick says we're over-policing. Well, I have a hunch that when Nick was driving home from his country club after celebrating his latest $1 million that he made, when he was pulled over, he probably didn't resist. This person, I don't care if he's in the Army or he's from Alaska. When you resist arrest, you are asking for a problem. And in every single case I have seen where lethal force is used, and we claim that it's all racially motivated, the suspect is armed and resisting arrest. Those are the facts. If they're uncomfortable, get ready to deal with inconvenient truths.
No, Adam, I'm not done with you yet, because this is really going to be great, because with the lieutenant, we all see the body cam and his camera and their body cam, and they wrote a report that said before he was pepper sprayed, he affirmatively attempted to assault an officer, and on top of that, he was resisting arrest, and on top of that, he, with violence, No, that's what the police wrote in their report. Now, the video shows that he did nothing other than say, that's not right, don't do this. That's not right, don't do this. And from various angles, Gutierrez sprayed him not once, not twice, but 3 times. An active lieutenant in the Army. Now,
I don't care.
That is an active assault on our military. How do you get that? How do you justify that?
Well, I'll answer if you give me a chance.
Good, go ahead.
I don't care what's in some report. I care what I see on the video. It must have been close to a dozen times. He was asked to get out of the vehicle. He did not comply. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times. He sat there and ignored the officers. How did the officers know he didn't have a gun or a knife? How many times have we seen videos where precisely that's happened and officers have been attacked? I'm not saying that the pepper spray was the right thing to do or it was handled correctly. What I'm saying is that they are resisting arrest. And in 90 to 95% of cases, the suspect indeed is armed and resisting arrest, and black officers shoot black suspects at a rate exceeding or equal to white officers. Nick, it's not about over-policing. It's about complying with the law. And I don't care if you're in the Army or you're from Alaska. You have to comply with the law, and everybody should be treated equally. I'm surprised that you, Bill, as a Democrat, all of a sudden you're in favor of the military? Well, I thought hell would freeze over before we'd hear that. This is a bunch of BS. I believe in the fact, not fairy tales.
Adam, I'm going to address that really quickly, and then Guidry, I'm coming to you. Nick, I'm coming to you, and Jeff, I'm coming to you. But Adam, in direct response, I was setting this all up. Over my left and my right shoulders are the American flags of my people that have served this country from World War I all the way through. So don't mind me. Military runs through my bones, but because I'm with the military. What I'm not with is some cowtown sheriff with a Roger Mudd mustache.
That's very racist. Really, that is a terrible thing to say about police officers.
No.
Guidry, for you to support that is shocking.
Oh no, we don't know what Guidry's going to say yet. So
I know exactly what she said.
No, fine. Adam, please. Guidry, Jeff, and then Nick, please. And Fernando, I'm coming back to you. But Adam, you ought to be ashamed. I thought you were a military person.
I thought you were a Democrat.
I am. Guidry?
Yes, Adam, you should be ashamed because you say that you know what I'm going to say.
Here, Adam should be ashamed. I agree.
Oh, I'm so hurt.
I thought so.
But Adam, when you say that 90 to 95% of cases being reported, I think you're missing a huge point. You're missing out the reporting itself. Who reports and how reports. And there is new statistic coming and more evidence.
Justice statistics.
No, come on, it's Guidry, sir.
Based on video camera recordings probably in the future, is indicated that those cases are being reported by unilateral group of people who have stake in the consequence of that incident. So when you so blatantly throw numbers like that, you really lose some accountability in my eyes. When it comes to talking about resistance or being asked...
Why don't you use facts, Guidry? You haven't used a single fact.
Adam, it's Guidry.
And Bill's clapping. Of course, Bill, the Democrat who loves the military. Wow.
Adam, I didn't know that you were so sensitive today, but I'm going to be almost done with my point. Another thing I think you also mentioned that I kind of disagree with, you say that the officer was, or lieutenant was, a resisting arrest or resisting the inspection by the police officers. And I think that we need to have a definition. What should that resist mean or entail to? In this particular case, if he was yelled to and he was explaining himself with his both hands outside of the car, to what extent the attempt to de-escalate the conversation becomes a resistance and vice versa. And I think there has to be a big difference between that. And also I disagree with Fernando. I do not think that we live in a totalitarian regime or similar system where us as citizens do not have a right to ask a question why I am being stopped. And I think arguing or trying to talk to is not the same as resisting. And I think you also been using those two words, which do not make sense in my head.
Great. Guidry, that's great. Adam, you're still done. Jeff, we're going to you. Nick next, and Fernando, I'm coming to you. But Adam, see, she makes sense tonight. Fine. Jeff, please.
You know, you really are the one who should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Jeff, unmute. Jeff, unmute.
All right. Well, you know, in terms of practical advice, of course, I agree with Fernando, and I that's what I try to do if I'm ever stopped. I don't like it as a matter of legal precedent that just because that's what I do, knowing what the realities of the world are, that I have to kowtow and step and fetch whenever a police officer tells me to do something, no matter how unreasonable it is. And if I were investigating this case, one of the first questions I would be asking is, why are you asking a motorist to get out of his car for a plate violation? Why don't you write him a ticket and be done with it? Now there may be a perfectly logical explanation, which I don't know, but I at least have a suspicion based on that little bit that I do know that Nick may be right. It could be over policing. I also, I don't agree that the status of the victim being a military officer, whatever of whatever race he was, and the status of the police officer ought to make a difference legally in how the thing comes out. I think it should be based on the facts of the incident. And I'm not comfortable that I know enough to prejudge it, but I am suspicious of the situation based on the facts that I've already mentioned.
Okay. See, everybody, listen. All those people that happen to, favor us by viewing us. Jeff makes an important point. It really shouldn't matter, racial overtones or anything else. However, it is inflammatory. Now, Nick, your thoughts, and Fernando, I'm coming to you, please. Nick.
Yeah. See, Bill. What we have here is the overpolicing of America. And the thing, oh, wait a minute, just a minute. I just got mine. Here it is. Sometimes it's not racially motivated. It's just that you have a lot of stupid people. There's my summons on the police department. Okay, now how did I get it? Well, the thing is, I had my dog in the car. And well, what was wrong with that? The windows were rolled down. It was in the 70s. And the law says specifically, which this lady handed to me, would say that if the weather is between 40 and 80, then having your dog in the car with the windows cracked down is okay. I sat with this person. I asked her, well, why am I being cited? He goes, well, that's not what I think the law says. And he says, I can cite you just because you have your dog in the car. I said, really? She just basically lied to me and then hit me with summons. Normally I would just pay it. It's $100. Who cares? But we have the right to fight this ignorance. And that's what this guy was doing. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He just wanted to know, what are the charges? In other words, and if the police officer said driving without a license, and he goes, this could have been all over with.
Right.
He goes, the license is back there, dude. Go look at it. No, this was totally abusive police behavior. And I'm glad he resigned, and I'm glad he's suing the police department because
No,
they
Nick. He was fired. He was fired.
He was fired. Right. But the thing is, where was his training? Come on, Bill.
Oh, no.
That was incompetent.
Apparently it was with the song Metallica. You're going to ride the white lightning, which is the electric chair. Fernando?
Can I make one observation?
Fernando,
yeah, Bill.
Wait a minute. Adam, you're resisting arrest, by the way. In other words, they just make that up, okay?
No.
Then he asks for something, they go, well, you're resisting arrest. Come on.
Well, Adam, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to defer to you only if Fernando says okay.
Resisting my arrest, my rear.
Fernando, only if you say okay can Adam make a point.
No, Adam's resisting arrest right now. I'm sorry.
Fernando?
He can make his point, and then you can come back to me.
Adam?
Because if you don't, he's just going to talk over people.
Okay, Adam?
Stop it, Fernando. I'll just take 10 seconds. So here we have the top 1% of wage earners coming out against the police, and a liberal Democrat in an emotional state supporting the military. I call BS when I see it, and this is the epitome of BS. Let's look at the facts. He was resisting arrest. When you don't resist arrest, good things happen. When you do, bad things happen.
Fernando, please.
Yes, Bill.
And Fernando, not to prime you up, but simply, none of this happened with I guess during Thugville, right?
Sure.
Fernando, can you explain that theory to us? And then explain to Adam why it never worked out for thugs.
Okay, so there's an expression that says that these things never happen to real thugs. And the reason is they shut their mouth up, they put their hands behind their back, and they don't give a damn what the police says. They sit there, and you know what they do? They go hire a lawyer, and they litigate it afterwards, and they sue, and they don't get pepper sprayed, they don't get beaten, they don't get shot, they don't get anything, right? Mm-hmm. I've been pulled over millions of times, just like Nick. I have never been pepper sprayed. I have never been beaten. I have never been anything. And they were all justified because I was speeding like a maniac and I was running through stop signs like a maniac.
I would have pepper sprayed you.
But you know what? I got pulled over. I turned the car off. I turned the dome light on. I sat there. Cop came to the car. He said, license, registration. I gave it to him. I didn't ask him anything. I stared straight ahead. Then he goes, you know why I pulled you over? I said, probably because I was speeding. He comes back with a ticket that was for less than what I was speeding. Then I go to court. I fought it out. And then I turned it into a seatbelt violation or sleeping by the side of the road. That's the way kind of the way you handle these things.
Okay, well, no,
If you-
then fine, Fernando. Then let me ask you this: Why isn't that a lieutenant officer can't just say, "Tell me what's wrong. I'll take my lumps." Instead, it's got to be all this stuff: riding the white lightning. You're going to jail. I'm your executioner. Get
Hey, Bill,
I got
he
it.
didn't take basic.
Nick,
I'll tell you why.
No.
Because-
I
Here,
want.
hold on. You asked me a question.
No.
I'm going to answer it.
I do, but I want a quick answer because I want to hear from Nick.
Here's the answer. The pretext for the stop was excessively tinted windows and no back license plate. When cops approach cars with excessively tinted windows where they can't see inside, they always approach with either their hand on their gun or their gun semi-drawn because they don't know who's in the back seat or what's going to happen.
What if they just don't approach the car? I mean, shit. I mean, there are dark windows. Let's just not approach it. Then there's no.
Let's let people break the law and have anarchy. Why not? Yeah, sure.
Fine.
Give me a break.
Fine. Nick, I'm coming to you, Jeff, and Adam.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, obviously, they failed Adam's basic criminal procedure course. Which the first thing to do, which Fernando is correct. The first thing to do, exercise your right to remain silent. Do everything they said. Next thing you do, you hire an attorney. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the hood never got criminal procedure when they're in the hood. I don't think it's offered as a course in the hood. Now, when you graduate from the hood or you go to certain places, and Fernando's correct, if you're part of certain organizations, you are trained in how to handle the cops by your own family. Okay, which remember, exercise your right to remain silent, do what they say, hire an attorney, and that's it. They don't get that basic counseling, and this is part of the other reason you're seeing all this garbage on television.
Just requires basic manners.
All right, fine, Georgia. Jeff, your turn.
Georgia.
Well, my larger political or social concern about this, if you will, is not about race or the status of the military or any of the rest of it. It really is about people getting drunk with power. And I've seen this throughout my legal career over and over. And it's not just police, it's city planners, it's anyone who fights City Hall. They tend to get held to go by the book, and people look for reasons to punish people that speak out or that contradict their authority or that say you can't do this to me. And the natural disposition of people in power when someone challenges whether or not they can do this to them is to say, well, the hell I can't, and to do it anyway. And it reminds me of one particular case when I was a judicial law clerk where a search warrant was executed, and they had the right to look for marijuana plants, which, as people know, are like 6 feet tall. They had a right to look for a machine gun. And after the person delivered the machine gun directly to the officers, they said, now we're going to go look for bullets. And they went through that house and looked for every nook and cranny. If that search had not been videotaped, the evidence would not have been suppressed because the affidavits filed by the police officers were very different from what appeared on the video camera. So, I say, God bless Steve Jobs and everyone else involved in helping us have these little video cameras in our pockets everywhere. This, of course, was the case I was talking about was before that. But my disposition is to be a little suspicious of authority, and I want to see it questioned. I think that's healthy to a republic and healthy to a free people to question authority and not just put both hands on the wheel and, submit to whatever is being done.
No, and Jeff, you make an important point, and Deidre, I'm coming to you for this, and that's simply this. First of all, it just seems to me as an observation, the United States was based on this notion of we have the fourth estate, whether it's the press or whether it's the independent people that are asking questions. And Deidre, can I get a split screen here? Deidre, you come from, at least historically, a place where your society, previous one, said you can't question. So, healthy questioning is not to be criminalized. So how do you do this? Because Adam says, "Hey, you ask a question, obey and shut up," which I think is where your country comes from. Well, Fernando believes thugs just should a lawyer on it and say nothing. But it's a fundamental question, Deidre. How do you look at this notion that says, do we have a right to ask a question? Do we have a right to say, this is wrong? Do we have a right to say in the moment without being beaten? What are your reflections?
So absolutely, and I think you anticipated my response and which side I'm going to go to. I think the problem is when there is authoritative institution that has a authority to tell someone shut up and don't ask questions. Unfortunately, it does not end there. There is always a spilling over effect that affects society much, much farther than the simple pullover when it comes to driving. So I think it's very important to have this check and balances. It's very important to have a dialogue. And also if we would not have that, that would create more abuse of power, as it has been mentioned on multiple occasions, talking about those Napoleon complexes. And right now in the United States, we already have this tradition of mutual mistrust. And if we're going to perpetrate this notion of shut up and don't ask questions, just be silent, and if something happens, if you ask question is your fault, we're not going to get anywhere, just go backwards. It's good that Fernando right now is of the age where he does not want to ask too many questions, follows the rules or orders, for lack of a better word. But when you were 18, when he was 18 or 16 or 17, was he thinking the same way? And should we penalize, people if they are in different, like especially younger people or different stage of life, or someone had a bad day and therefore was not able to ask a question? Another thing Adam mentioned and said very good point, that where are the manners? We need to have basic manners, but not only for the drivers, not only for us, but also police officers have to have basic manners. Police officers can be in tune and protective and engage in the situation without having to yell, scream, and use the words, as you mentioned in the beginning of the show, against someone they are, pulling over. I think it's very, very important, again, to maintain that dialogue and to understand both. So definitely Lithuania, growing up in Soviet Union country, you really, really, really do not want to give one institution the authority to be able to say, shut up and don't ask questions, just follow the orders. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Deidre, look, you invoked Fernando. Fernando, she asked you a question, and then Adam, I think she gave you a compliment. So Fernando, you first. And Adam, I swear when I come to you, you better be nice, because she was just nice to you. Fine. And then I'm coming to you, Nick, and then you, Jeff. So, Fernando, please.
So, Deidre, all the stories that I just said all happened when I was 17, 18, 19, and 21. The first time I was pulled over, I was 17 years old. I was driving 80 in a 50-mile-hour zone, and I blew by the cop on the Belt Parkway. So I slowed down thinking, hey, he didn't see me, and I ducked down under my steering wheel. Yeah, that did not work. And it was nighttime. He pulls me over. I pulled over. I turned off the car. I was driving a 1980 Malibu Classic, 4 doors. I pulled over. I turned off the car, pulled out the key, turned on the dome light, and I just sat there. He approached the car from behind, peeked in, and he said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, probably because I was doing 80 and a 50, but I could be wrong. He turned around, came back with a ticket for doing only a 60 and a 50 because I de-escalated the situation. He was waiting for me to start acting like an ass and start, keep my window a crack open, be like, yo, why you pulled me over? No, I don't know why you pulled me over.
Fernando, that's going to lead me to a different question. I get your confessional. Adam, please remember, Deidre was being nice to you.
Well, Deidre's great.
Well, no, you attacked her earlier, but I mean, can't you be nice to her now? She was being nice to you.
Bill, you're being very moody tonight. Let me just get to a few points. Number one, it is perfectly reasonable to question why an officer pulled you over. In fact, 99.9% of the time, they tell you why. And I think this guy knew why he was pulled over, given that it had tinted windows and no rear license plates. There's a difference between asking a question respectfully and repeatedly resisting the commands of a police officer, which is what this person did. And that is the difference. Now, number two, Jeff says it's important to question authority. Yes, it is, Jeff, through the legal process, not at a traffic stop, through a trial, through the adversarial process, okay?
No, fine.
The last thing I'm going to say is this. The last thing I want to say is there are millions and millions of traffic stops every year. The instances in which we have cases of alleged police brutality are infinitesimal, yet we focus on all the bad and none of the good. It's like saying that we're going to focus on every plane crash that occurs rather than focus on the millions that fly and land safely every day. What's happening here is they're using race and police as a political tool to gain power. It's disgusting. It's despicable. It's undemocratic. And Bill, I think that you should recognize that until we have all the facts, judging this case and judging other people is premature.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Adam. I really do appreciate your contribution to this collective marketplace of ideas. But
You're welcome.
Fine, but I reject it because a guy showed up at a traffic stop and is dead now. Jeff, please, and then Nick, your turn.
Well, you know, I will emphasize again, if there's any viewer that has misunderstood me, the advice I would give to someone in a situation of being pulled over by a cop is exactly what Fernando suggests. It's the most practical way out of the situation. And that's what I try to do. And you know, in the defense of police officers, most of the time when I've been pulled over, in fact, almost every time I've been pulled over, the police officers have been respectful and, you know, haven't escalated the situation or anything like that. I think that's probably pretty normal. But there is the odd little Napoleon out there that cannot stand to be contradicted, that cannot stand to have his orders questioned. And I think our country was founded on questioning authority and saying, you know, you can't just impose things on us without our representation. And that's my problem with policing in general. We have a well-armed special interest group that is in charge of what the average citizen out there is doing on the street.
Nick?
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, Adam is completely missing the point, but it doesn't surprise me because he sits up in his ivory tower at Georgia College as a professor and doesn't see what's going on in the streets. If he ever happens to leave the ivory tower like I did for a couple minutes to go to a museum and get pulled over by some person on animal control who goes berserk on things like this, then you can see what happened here. All the police officer had to do is say, well, your license tag, you're driving without a license, and then it'd be over with because it'd say there it's in the back. But no, get out of the car. Oh, what's the charges? You're resisting arrest. That's the charge. Now get out of the car. Can you tell me anything what's going on? No, you're resisting arrest. Come on, Adam. Okay, that is way beyond the pale. And certainly you have the right to at least ask a question. What am I being pulled over for? And yes, the police were way out of control in this particular situation. The facts are going to demonstrate it, and the people that train them, they're going to be in deep trouble. So resist arrest, there was no resisting arrest. The person was asking for a clarification. He couldn't get it from the moron that pulled him over.
I know. And by the way, and Adam, I'm coming to you, but I mean, before I come to you, I get to say this. There is nothing incongruent about coming from a historical family of military officers and yet being a liberal Democrat and saying your town sheriff thinking that he's going to enforce the law because I'm going to ride the white lightning is crazy. Now, I know it makes sense down there in Georgia.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Adam don't want to ride the white lightning down in Georgia.
Yeah.
What a racially insensitive comment, yet again.
Oh, okay.
Racial, he was just talking about the state of Georgia.
No, you should apologize.
Adam, I was waiting for this. That's right.
There's nothing racial about the state of Georgia.
Adam, I was waiting until I could say this to you. I had this one moment, please. Snowflake, if you're upset with your feelings, I didn't say ride the white lightning. Your sheriff did. So don't mind me.
By the way, was this in Georgia? Is this where it happened?
Well, now, what I'd like to just briefly say is this:
Good. Go ahead.
based on what you said, Bill, I think now would be the appropriate time for you to condemn the rioters in Minnesota who are destroying businesses and creating havoc, to condemn the people who riot in Portland, who rioted in Seattle and blocked off what they call the Capitol Hill Autonomous. I know that you're against that rioting, which destroyed minority business, led to over 40 deaths, including among law enforcement. But you guys don't talk about that, right? Now, I will say that I agree with Guidry, and I agree with...
I'll answer your question straight up. Is that
that was not a question.
Okay, then fine. Then I won't answer.
I will agree with Guidry and Nick that I don't think the officers handle this the appropriate way. And I think when officers act inappropriately, they should be held accountable in the legal process. My simple point was, in the vast majority of cases, law enforcement officers act properly and protect public safety. And I will not sit here and vilify officers. I will not sit here and vilify them on the basis of generalizations that are racially divisive and disunifying. If you want to unify the country, Bill, don't just criticize the police, criticize the rioters. I'm waiting.
Is that a question now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Adam, I'm going to put one of your maneuvers because I so love you. And
I love you too, Bill.
All right. So,
and you too, Guidry.
Is that legal in the United States now?
No, I don't.
I'm not sure about you, Nick. And Fernando, you got to stop speeding.
All right.
Right.
I don't think, Fernando, you're going to be able to stop him.
All right. Here, I want to speak directly to our audience, nationally.
You learned that from Adam, by the way. Talk to the audience. Okay.
I know, and I'm doing it right now. I want to speak to our audience, both nationally.
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Sorry, I apologize.
I mean, see, you can't even get out of your own way, can you, Adam? Right. I want to speak directly to our audience nationally and internationally. I reject any and all forms of violence, rioting, destruction, mayhem as a form of protest. I reject it. I believe in law and order. I say that, and I want to be clear. We all need to understand that we have, at least on my part, and I'm half black, half white, a 400-year history where we've chosen between peaceful resistance and protests. So, Adam, you're right, and you hear it now. That should stop. But by the same token, Adam, the hunting, the killing, the bait and shoot for people of color over the last 400 years, whether it was by rope, by chain on the back of a truck, by kneeling on a neck, by a taser versus a gun, should stop. So you ought to say and reject that, Adam.
I 100% reject that. I have always rejected that.
Good.
What I'm saying is that the media is dividing this country by making it seem that this is a regular occurrence rather than what it really is, which is an infinitesimally small number of cases. In 95% of cases, the suspect is armed and resisting. But Bill, I will give you credit, and I really appreciate it.
I'm going to go to Fernando because you said the media is making it all up. I'm going Fernando and then Guidry.
Yeah, hi, Don Lemon.
Fernando, is the media making it up? Guidry, is the media making it up? And Jeff, please, is the media making it up? Because
I didn't say they made it up. I said they're dividing the country.
All right, well, fine. Fernando, Guidry, and then Jeff, please.
Okay. To clear it, just one point. The minute I started paying for my own car insurance, I stopped speeding and getting tickets for stop signs. That's when all that stopped. Now, the media isn't making it up, but they are using it to sell papers and bring eyeballs to the screen. Because the truth is, this incident in Virginia, the only reason we know about it is because the lieutenant filed suit. Because I think it happened a year ago, or maybe a little bit more than that. So, all right, so a few months ago. So the only reason we know about it is because he filed suit. If he doesn't file suit, we probably don't hear about it. And there's, tons of these cases that go on every day. With body cam now, you're probably going to start seeing more of them. And they'll get more press, the ones that will sell. Race sells. So, you know, if it's a white on white assault or a black on black arrest, you're not going to see it. What you're going to see is white on black, because that's what sells. That's what, whether we like it or not, that's what sells. You know, and Bill, it's a little over exaggeration that people are hunting and pecking this day and age. They're not. You know, that kid in Minnesota resisted arrest.
Deidre, please, because we
Thank
don't
you.
have your Fernando anymore. Deidre.
Well, I do think that we are dividing ourselves. Our society is dividing. We have a long, reaching tradition of mutual distrust, and today is not an exception. I will agree with Fernando that society, that media is manipulating certain aspects. Certain aspects get more popular than others. However, there is a racial element there. Whether you like it or not, we are still seeing difference between the color, and it's being reflected in the incidence or severity of the incident when it comes to who is being victim there. And I think that it's going to be a long process to resolve it. We need to talk about it. We do not need to destroy small businesses. I absolutely disagree that at this point, in order to get the attention to this issue, there has to be destruction of any kind of property and, God forbid, more victims. But we do have to realize that there is an issue and we have to resolve it, rather than saying, oh, no, everyone is treating equally, because it's just not true. If you look at every statistic there, I'm not saying it's doable, but it's still, there is a big difference there. The question to ask is, who police the police? Police has incredible accountability and responsibility. I respect police immensely. I am pro the increasing budget of any police forces. We do need to invest in police more than we had to, but there still has to be a policing of the police, and hopefully the body cameras will add to a level of resolving this situation better.
Jeff.
I agree with Deidre about body cameras. I think it makes sense. It protects the police officer and the citizen. Look, the George Floyd incident is, I guess, a reason why I am nervous about looking too hard at the status of the victim. Now, in the case we've been talking about today, perhaps we've got a very sympathetic victim who was a military officer, an upstanding citizen, and all the rest of it. In George Floyd's case, we had a guy who, you know, came out of a store where he gave a counterfeit $20 bill, and you know, he was a guy that had some criminal convictions on his record and may have ingested drugs during the incident. That doesn't matter to me. He was our fellow American citizen, and all of those things added up together don't deserve dying on a sidewalk with someone kneeling on your neck for 9.5 minutes while other people want to come to your aid. And he's not moving. He's not resisting. In fact, he's handcuffed on the ground during that entire time. It doesn't make any sense, regardless of the status of the victim. So I say in all cases, I don't care what the status of the victim is. I don't care what race they are, what color they are, how great of an upstanding citizen or criminal they are. If they're an American citizen, they deserve to be treated with respect and not have excessive force used against them by a little tyrant who can't stand to have anybody question their authority.
Okay, well, Jeff, thank you. Deidre, thank you. Adam?
I
apologize. I think we are finally in agreement on a show, at least for once. Fernando, stop speeding. Now, Nick, you're on a tight ship here, okay? And so, can you land this plane, please?
Yeah, make one comment about airplanes, because Adam made an analogy that why are we looking at this, you know, like airplanes? Well, let me tell you something, Adam. It's like this: the NTSB investigates every incident that takes place if an airplane crashes, and rightfully so, because that lessens the amount of airplanes that crash. The American public has the right to investigate and expect the same level of protection and professionalism from their police force. And unless you demand that, you're going to end up like this on airplanes. Oh, it just crashed. Let's not even bother to investigate. Another crash, who cares? And that used to be the standard in the United States, but we changed that. We changed it worldwide, and we can change that here too. And so there'll be less of these things that we even have to show on the IBM TV network. And with that,
no, Nick. In a rare,
can I have the last word?
No. In a rare moment, I get to say, "Touche." You're right. Land the plane, Nick, please.
Oh, now I get to land that plane, and hopefully we don't crash it. If we did crash it, well,
All
you
right.
know, who cares? We had 100 of them that didn't crash, so that was great. And Keidre goes, let's go look at something 40 years ago. 40 years ago, who cares? Okay, that's political.